Well, welcome to the scientist edition of We Don't Color on the Dog, IHMC, Institute for Human and Machine Cognition. They won a huge Triumph grant to set up the National Center for Collaborative Autonomy. Just the name is cool. We've got with us Dr. Matt Johnson, Dr. Niranjan Suri with us today. Thank y'all for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, just the whole idea of what do y'all take on the idea of pretend I'm a fifth grader, and that may be even put me too high. Is what is an autonomous system?
So an autonomous
Jump on
system
that
is.
one.
You want to go for it, Matt, or you want me to go
That's
for it?
all you on that one.
So an autonomous system is basically a computer or a robot or a drone that you don't have to command every step of the way. So you can delegate some authority to it, ask it to do something, and it tries to figure out how to get to the goal that you have specified without having to, tell it step by step how to get there. So that's a quick summary of what an autonomous system is.
So, what are some of the applications that how would apply to in real world?
So if you look, for example, at drones, and this is a big topic right now because if you look at the war that's going on in Ukraine with Ukraine and Russia, it turns out that almost 80% of the battles now are actually fought using drones. Now, one of the big problems is that if you have to pilot each of these drones manually, it just doesn't work very well because you don't have enough pilots. And also the communications link between the pilot and the drone tends to get disrupted because that's what the enemy likes to do. So autonomy, for example, in this case, is a way by which we can tell the drones what they should do, and the drones will autonomously operate and achieve that goal to the best of their ability without each human having to pilot the drone in a manual fashion.
Yeah, you see in the movies where somebody's like a game and they have a stick shift and they're flying that.
And
So
you can
now
tell, yes.
with the AI or with the computer, they would be able to make those decisions if programmed right.
That's right. The human is still specifying the goal for the drone or the autonomous system to achieve, and within certain rules of behavior, the system tries to achieve that goal without direct commands from the human.
Matt, how do you see this involving robotics? Is that an application also?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it works the same way, right? So in all robotics applications, you're doing what Niranjan just described. You've got a system that needs to do more on its own, so you can't have a human micromanaging it or driving with the joystick because it's just not practical. It doesn't scale well. If you want to get more bang for your buck, and that's what robots are supposed to provide, you need them to do things on their own or autonomously, as it's like to be said. And in order to do that, they need to be able to see the world themselves. They need to be able to interpret what they're seeing on their own. They need to be able to make their own decisions. Now, all of that should be in the context of a human direction. Human should be telling them this is the goal that you're trying to achieve. But within that goal, they should be doing all of those things, understand, interpreting, making some decisions, and taking some actions without someone having to come in and joystick. If you don't, then you have one-to-one control is going to be your limit, and that's not very useful. Imagine trying to build your house all by yourself. It doesn't work very well, right? You're going to need a bunch of people to build a house. That's teamwork. And just like if you want to leverage robots, you're going to need a way for these systems to do bits on their own that don't require you to be hands-on every step of the way.
So how will this national center unfold within IHMC?
Yeah, so the center itself, the National Center for Collaborative Autonomy, is really focused on the scaling problem, right? How do you get more bang for your buck out of robotics and AI, right? Both of these systems have been exploding in numbers over the last decade. The number of robots in use and the number of ways we use AI and where we use AI has just been growing exponentially. But it all works pretty much the same way, which is mainly one-to-one. There are very few circumstances, mainly in factory automation, where you can get more robots than people. But in general, outside of a factory, we're still one-to-one or worse in how we control these systems. Typical DoD for operations of unmanned systems is many to one. It's not even one-to-one right now. And so to get that to be actually worth the dollar value that we're investing in these systems, we've got to flip the script. We've got to change how we operate. And that's going to involve more sophisticated automation and decision-making on these systems, specifically on how they collaborate.
Dr. Siri is looking at this is how big a staff will the center have?
So we are hoping to hire at least about 10 to 12 people that will specialize in working in this area. Of course, we're hoping to find the best people possible, and we have to find the right kind of people to provide the right kind of expertise, but that's our target for now.
How soon will the center be up and operational?
So it's already up and running in the sense that there are a number of people at IHMC working on the areas that contribute to collaborative autonomy. We have already gotten some matching funding from the Air Force, for example, to continue working in this area. We've already started purchasing equipment that we will be using to conduct demonstrations and experimentation. So yes, it's already up and running.
Now, you have a pretty long history with IHC, don't you?
I have been with IHMC since 1994, yes.
This has got to be the evolution of the Institute has been fascinating for me to watch on the outside. This has got to be like, the third or fourth evolution. I mean, the evolution of what y'all are doing, this is and it's happening here in Pensacola. I mean, to me, it's amazing.
Absolutely. We started focusing on primarily AI and machine learning. Then we expanded to robotics. Now we've expanded to the medical domain with the HealthSpan Resilience and Performance Group. And what is interesting about this aspect, or this collaborative autonomy aspect, is to bring together a number of these different disciplines to focus on this really challenging problem.
Now, Matt, when did you come aboard with Institute?
I came on board in 2002, so a bit after Niranjan, but I've been here for about 20 years. When it started with Niranjan, I think it was a single room up in UWF, if I'm not mistaken. When I came, it was the old police building.
Right.
Looking building. Since then, they've added, with the expansion into and growth in robotics, we added the new building on Ramana. And then most recently, we've extended into the human performance space with the HRP building across the street. And so that's kind of indicative of the growth of what we're doing and the importance of the area. Each of those had a specific focus, obviously robotics and HRP, human performance. But the NCCA is really looking at the synergy amongst all of those things, right? It's really tying all of that together and looking at how we can make systems more effective, leveraging all of those components together.
I can imagine when y'all brainstorm, it's got to be just unbelievable as y'all start thinking of all the possibilities. And, it's got to be, I would not understand what you're talking about, but it would be fun to watch, I think.
It's my favorite part, to be honest, is the multidisciplinary nature. I came through engineering, and so I have an engineering background. I've learned a lot of computer science, and I've pushed into human machine teaming now. But we have a lot of people in a lot of different areas, and it's always the most interesting to get those different perspectives because they make you rethink how you go after solving a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Having those different perspectives from both robotics and human performance and all the other areas that are inside of IHMC really helps you think outside the box and come after different solutions than what's out and available today. So to me, that's the most exciting part.
Well, Niranjan has also got to be just that when you start figuring out the applications, once y'all kind of start all brainstorming about it, how do you go after the grant and what are the applications going to come out of?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are definitely using Triumph funding as a bootstrapping mechanism, right? So that we can build some initial capability and then we can show that capability to various sponsors and then say, look, we can build upon this if you give us additional funding. And that's the way it works. So Triumph has been very useful from that perspective of giving us that bootstrap funding, if you will, that will allow us to build upon and go after bigger efforts, right? So, yeah.
And you think about, because Matt, when you came on, that was the paper had just started. We started in '99, and I remember trying to figure out what machine cognition was, and now we have AI, which is that to the nth degree of where y'all started.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a pretty interesting ride to be part of. I think the central theme has always been the same, right? So, and it's right there in the name, human and machine. When we talk about robotics, that's the machine side, but the HRP is the human side, right? It's always been there from the beginning. And the entire focus of IHMC is what we call human-centered computing. And that really is start with the end user, the mission objective, the thing you're trying to achieve, which always involves people. And then build the technology to support that. That's really the key to the whole game. And you need your technologists to be informed by the end target, the goal that you're trying to achieve, which is always people-driven. And so it's really about enhancing the human condition and enhancing our ability to do whatever it is for the target domain better for people at the end of the day.
Well, I appreciate it. Took us a while to get everybody's schedule to work on this, but I appreciate y'all doing this today, and I want to stay on top of what y'all are doing as much as you can tell me, but as much as I can understand the other side of all this. But I am excited about what y'all are doing. I think for us in Pensacola, it puts us in a rarefied air as far as innovation, and what y'all do is important to the community and the people that you bring to the community has really changed how Pensacola operates and thinks. I think it's just huge.
Thank you.
So thank y'all. Thank y'all for being on today. I'll get the podcast out to everybody. And Niranjan, I will edit it fine. Don't worry about it. We'll make it
work. Thanks for watching. And to keep up with what's going on, be sure and subscribe. Just click on the little dog to the right and click the subscribe button. You can also like this video and click on the bell, which will notify you of new content. This really helps the channel grow. We appreciate you.